competitive gaming. So how do you think competitive change? I mean, competitive gaming has always been a thing. I mean, not always. It is. I guess it really has always been a thing ever since there was high scores in an arcade, right? There's always been competitive gaming around.
Oh yeah.
Right? But the biggest, most iconic moment that I can think of in recent history was last year when that kid made like $3 million in a Fortnite tournament, right?
Yeah.
And which is not like, there's been big tournaments where people win things, but that was literally filled up a stadium, and we had and won big money being a kid competitive player, right? There's always been.
But he was 16.
Something like that, yeah. And the reality is that it wasn't just that it was a big thing and big money, but it was actually like the news covered it, right? And everyone was like, kid gets paid $3 million to play video games. It's like, okay, well, you nuanced it, but you really nuanced a pretty significant thing. But the reality is that started to show that, hey, people. Because $3 million isn't just thrown around because he's a good player. $3 million was the prize because they were able to fill an entire stadium full of people that wanted to just watch people play a video game.
Watch people, yeah.
Right? That's the significance of $3 million. Not that this kid, got overly paid, Because anyone that said that is ignoring professional sports, right?
Easily.
It's the same. It's the exact same argument that can be made for why does someone get paid millions of dollars to play basketball, right? It's the same. It's the exact same idea, right? The reality is competitive gaming is getting bigger, and I think Twitch also I think it comes hand in hand with streaming as well, because now people are following pro video game players the same way they follow pro athletes, right? Maybe not to the same extent, not yet, but I think it's starting to become a thing. And I think another big part of it is because graphics and game style are becoming more action-packed, more better graphics. Everything is much more realistic and exciting than it ever has been before. I mean, that's why people watch sports, is because it's action-packed and exciting, right? And now, and it's realistic, right? Because you're actually watching athletes. But now we're getting video games. People can watch people play NBA, go to NBA tournaments. People watch NBA tournaments. I mean, 2K. People will go watch people play 2K, and the only reason they watch it because it's almost realistic. The graphics are really good. So I mean, there could be a point where they can make up characters and throw them on a 2K game, and people will watch. There could eventually hit a point where people watch 2K more than they watch basketball, because if they make 2K hyper realistic and they make the game more action packed than the actual basketball game, then they eliminate all the reasons that you watch an actual basketball game.
Yep, I agree. 100%.
Which is crazy.
I think that with watching video games, a lot of the time it's usually when you're bored, you want to watch something. Okay, I'll throw on a YouTube video.
Right.
Just someone playing the same game that I'm going to play just because I can't play it at that time, or I don't feel like playing it at that time. Same thing with watching sports. A lot of people who let's say play football will watch football, but that's only when they can't play it.
Right.
It's a form of entertainment. They enjoy watching other people do the same thing that they do. They have relatability.
Or that they want to do, but they aren't capable of doing. They want to be good at basketball, but they can't.
But they know that they're at a professional level, they're not going to do it.
Right.
Or maybe they're watching because they want to do it and they want to learn how the pros do it.
Or they want to build forts and fight people with guns.
Yeah, right.
So they're going to watch people. Also, GB Crash said a career playing video games is much like other popular careers such as artists, singers, pro athletes, which is another good point. And that kind of furthers the argument I'm making. But I'm sorry, continue. I know you're...
But yeah, no, like think about it contract wise. You know, a basketball player gets so much for wow, that was amazing. But he gets so much for so many games per year for having to practice all year and everything. Whereas gamers are paid more upon the people that are watching.
Right.
As well as tournaments. You could consider those as games. You consider this as practice, where they are practicing for said tournaments, where they can win money or whatnot, or gain sponsorships and everything.
Right.
This is kind of their contracts. Okay, I have to put out content so that people want to subscribe and follow what I do for a living, things I am passionate about.
Right.
Now,
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's almost the same exact thing. It's just people tend to put it in a lighter light because, again, you're doing things that kids do.
It's also stigmatized right now. I mean, kids play basketball.
Yeah.
Baseball.
Think about it. Think about when a popular YouTuber is interviewed on TV. One of the first questions is, "Oh, how much money do you make?" It's never like about the content. It's always about, "Oh, how much money do you make?" "Oh, you make that much money? Oh, wow, that's crazy."
Well, that's because
and then
before,
next thing
it was so unpopular that could be a case, right? Like before, it was unheard of that you could make a living like that. But now, it's becoming more feasible. And I think, personally, that just like we used to see, it's becoming almost as popular to be able to make a living playing video games than it is as popular to be a pro athlete. Almost. Not there yet. But it's getting close to the point. I mean, you can't always make the same big money that a pro athlete's making, right? But it's getting closer to where you can make an actual living playing video games almost as much as you can being a pro athlete. You're not gonna you're not gonna make the same amount of money, but you can almost do it, right? And I think we're gonna see a point where it's gonna cross that threshold, and you actually can fully make a living as much, and we're gonna see the same kind of thing where people are like, because I mean, look now, you see as like kids were saying like, oh, I could be a video game session girl, but they knew it would never happen, right? But when you're a kid and you're getting into sports, right, and you're really into basketball or baseball, you're like, ooh, I could do this collegiately. Like if I keep working hard, I can get into college and and do that. Well, now we're seeing colleges have esports teams, right? There's pro
and that's
teams
because
that was scholarships.
They're starting to learn it. They're starting to learn the popularization. Again, it's also kids that wanted to be pro athletes that either don't have the interest or the want to devote themselves. They would rather do things that they are interested in. Video games are relatable to literally almost everyone.
Yeah.
There's always a game out there. Whereas, sports are very limited.
Yeah, and
you can only be related to sports so much.
And I do think that competitive gaming, though, is going to lead to a lot of kids just like those athletes in high school who banked all their money on being a pro athlete. I think we're going to get a lot of kids that are going to in the future I'm going to be the next big gamer, so I'm going to start young and I'm going to start building my streaming and I'm going to start, getting good at a certain game. I think we're going to see something similar to that in the future. Also, GB Crash says, I don't think graphics are that important. See League of Legends, for instance. The appeal is in its depth and skill, in competition mechanics, line strategy, map meta strategy. Also, drafting champs, team synergy, and more. I do agree with that. I think, I guess what I'm trying to say is in terms of broad popularity, to where it can be to the same scale as something like NBA or something, right? My point is I think a lot of sports are actually going to get replaced. Professional sports are going to actually get replaced, at least in terms of TV time and stuff like that, by a lot of competitive games, because I think for some people, graphics is a barrier to entry for taking it seriously. Just like how people talk about anime, and you're like, why do people watch anime? It's just cartoons, right? It's that same kind of it's not real life. Yep. That's a barrier to entry for some people. Versus if something's photorealistic and it's a video game, then people are like, oh crap, this is, if I can't tell the difference, I'm in. That's, I think for some people that's a barrier to entry. Now that was kind of my point. I don't think that's the sole thing, and I do think that there are a lot of more important things, but I think in terms of being broadly accepted, being a mainstream, likable game, I think graphics does become a part of that. But you're right. I think to some extent. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the future of gaming. I'm excited for it. I think in the future we're going to get a lot of really cool stuff.
I think that graphics.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I think that graphics only matter when it comes to single player games. I think multiplayer games, no one really cares. Take Fortnite for example. Fortnite is a very basic game. It's not too heavily into graphics, just like League. League is not very heavily into graphics. It's more about the skill part of the game. With what other games? You got World of Warcraft. Even that game, again, not necessarily the skill, but more of the storyline of it. It's not mainly about the graphics. Granted, the graphics have improved over time. They'll do little improvements. Even Fortnite does. Even League has had little improvements. They're not very big. They're not like drastic, but they are. The graphics are more important for the games that are story driven, where it's like, wow, I'm immersed into this game. I feel like I'm actually a part of the story. Whereas, a lot of these competitive games are more about the skill, so they don't really care about graphics.
Right. That's a good. I think my big thing was like for like games like sports games. I guess my big argument for graphics was that like sports are, if you watch sports and you like sports, we could get to a point where you could make a sports game with the same graphic quality as almost basically real life, and be able to watch that as a replacement for sports, because people can play sports games way better than they can play sports. You know what I'm saying? I guess that was kind of like my point.
Oh yeah.
Was it could eventually be a replacement for something like that. Real quick, Mr. Otter said, I love streaming. I love that streaming and tech has been able to create, or has been able to help people reach some dreams. It's easy to stream games, and even if you don't get mega famous like Ninja or Markiplier, you're still reaching people. And the same goes for other things. It's so easy to make high-quality audio recordings and release them on Spotify or iTunes. And then GB Crash said, yes, Fortnite drew a huge following with cartoon graphics, but I see both